All right, all set.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome.
Good evening. The meeting will come to order. It is now 6:36. My name is Chuck Corsi, and I'd like to welcome you to the virtual March 21st meeting of the West Hartford Commission of the Arts. Because in-person attendance at public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order number 7B as extended by Executive Order number 9A, which permits municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Commission members and some town staff are participating via WebEx. The public can watch this meeting on Comcast Channel 5, TV, Frontier TV, Channel 6098, or on www.whctv.org. With regard to public comment, I wish first to emphasize that phone access to this meeting is only intended for members of the public who wish to actively participate and provide comments. If you are on the phone and do not plan to speak, please hang up and watch on television on West Hartford Community Interactive, Comcast Channel 96, Frontier TV Channel 6099, or streaming at www.whctv.org. Again, if you do not plan to comment, please hang up your phone now and instead listen to the hearing on the TV or internet. Thank you. For the members of the public who are still on the phone, please do not mute your device. The meeting moderator will keep everyone's line muted until it is your turn to speak. If you mute your own line, the moderator may not hear your voice when she calls for comment. I will explain how the hand-raising process will work when we begin public comment. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before I begin. First, I ask all participants to please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, please then unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, pursuant to Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. Third, because of the difficulty in tallying voice votes on the video conference, all votes must be taken by roll. Sort of. I will now call the meeting to order and conduct a roll call. Let me begin the roll. Karen Bachman?
Here.
Matthew Bragg?
Here.
Javier Colon?
Here.
Chuck Corsi is here. Latanya Farrell is absent. Ginny Kemp?
Here.
Carol McCabe?
Here.
Marilla Pinedasor?
Here.
Susan Rothenberg?
Here.
All right. Let's see. Do we have, since we met for the tour during our February meeting, we did not approve minutes from January. So we have both the minutes of January 31st and February 22nd, both those meetings minutes to approve. Do I hear a motion to approve? Carol McCabe approves. Second. How about you, Sue? Sue seconds.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Please, I'll just let it note that it was unanimous. All those against? Passes unanimous. Excellent. Okay, on to old business. Future development at St. Brigid's. We've been hearing a lot about that. Just to give you a quick update, and I'm going to try and run through some of these quick because I want to spend some time on the tour that we had of Town Hall. Just to let you know, I've been asked to serve on, there's a committee that is going to be looking at the uses that our community would like to see in St. Brigid. So I don't have a meeting date when it's going to begin meeting, but as soon as I do, I think what I might do is just form a little one-page form that we can distribute around to our friends and colleagues in the arts and culture community to ask them what their input is. Because I think it's important that we get a lot of public input as to what people want. Not everything, obviously, is going to be, we're not going to have a 900 seat auditorium that would accommodate graduations. That's, that's not going to be in the cards. But I know that the symphony, for example, really wants storage space, a place where they can have a home to store things, and other groups are going to want things. So as soon as I know dates of meetings, we don't need to have everybody's input by the first meeting by no means. I think that's what the committee will be asking for, but just so we get a head start on it, something that we can use in our own outreach. Any questions on St. Brigid? Okay. Next is a possible annual musical event. You've been talking about that. Any update on that?
Excuse me. So my last correspondence with my friend who we were discussing this, it was a couple months ago, and we felt that because things were still, it was kind of in the middle of the surge when things were going crazy with Omicron, and he said that at this point it'd be hard to get folks, investors and such who were thinking about putting some money in to kind of make this possible. It might be hard to get them in at that time, and they need a good lead time to plan something like this. So it was looking like we were going to have to look to 2023 versus summer 2022. So that's kind of where things are at. We'll still discuss things and try to get some some more details, some more info, but for now it's tabled until to hope for 2023.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, Hav. Any questions for Hav?
So it would be summer, right? A summer event.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. It would be a nice thing because we don't have anything like that. Like Simsbury has that. They have these big open area to do concerts and stuff. And I just thought it'd be nice to have a big, outdoor concert in West Hartford at some point. Some sort of summer festival that folks can look forward to. But that's kind of how the idea started anyway. And I think we would wait till summer to do it.
Great. I've heard some people talk about, not to mix our agenda items, but St. Brigid, maybe an outdoor amphitheater that could possibly host concerts. I don't know, it won't be ready by 2023.
Right.
But that's something that doesn't take up a lot of expense and space inside, obviously.
It might be just the venue. It might be just the event to kind of make it all come together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you know anything about how big the venue would be? How many it could accommodate? Anything like that?
Hav, I would love your input. How many do you think it?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the limitations of the space. I mean, how big could they go?
I would encourage everyone, and again, I got to do it too. I haven't looked at it with that in my mind since somebody brought it up. But drive by St. Brigid, it connects to Beachland Park.
Yeah,
and it's actually this school, and there's no, the building may stay there, and it may be a rehab of the building, or it might be torn down and start anew.
Okay.
Person I was talking to thought that a nice amphitheater, pronounce it wrong, but right built into the side of the hill going down towards the swimming pool and down to the park, maybe that might be something cool.
Definitely.
That'd be awesome. Usually amphitheaters are the other way around.
Yes.
You have the low point is where the stage is, and then so that everyone can see is the audience fans upward and away.
Yeah.
So that would be a little opposite, but not impossible. I mean, there's still, maybe it could be a smaller amphitheater that doesn't include the hill there. Just, yeah, that's
or it could be at an angle at the bottom of the hill by the pool.
Yeah, yeah. If you wanted to build it into the
Yeah.
space down below, absolutely.
Okay, cool. We move on. My apologies for the digression. There were a couple of issues that we had talked about that I spoke with the town planner and the town engineer, um, head of community development, and that was murals on private property. Um, we are free to go about to put out a press release on that, just encouraging people to take a look at doing that. That you do not have to get a permit to do a mural on your private property. It is advised that you reach out to your neighbors to let them know what's going on. But a permit is not necessary, and the town would be happy to speak to you just to make sure that everything that you're doing is within your rights. So we're thinking about doing a quick press release, see if we can get some nibbles from Ronnie and maybe even others with a nice quote from Andre Burrell at Juniper Home Care, who has his mural up in Elmwood on New Britain Avenue, and also a quote from the mayor encouraging folks to consider if they have a big wall or they they ever thought about it, something to consider. We also talked about the Morris columns and the decorative cylinders and advertisements. That is on their list. They are putting together a kind of a list of new marketing items for the town. They also realize that the banners on Goodman Green aren't really sufficient. There's not enough space to advertise all the great stuff that's going on. So we need something else. And they're also working on some regulations that would also provide it's on the agenda to set asides from new development applications for arts and culture. The way that works, if I'm a developer and say I want to build a condo building, I can, in exchange for maybe having greater density than what the town might allow, or going, having it a little taller than it might allow, developers would then be permitted to make a contribution into a fund. That money in that fund would collect and go towards things like arts and culture, or maybe even perhaps affordable housing, but public art's a big thing. The town is looking at coming up with an affordable housing policy, but they're also looking at it in terms of other things that money could be set aside for, and public art is another one. Any questions on that? That's going to take some time to move along through the process, but as I hear things, I'll let you know. Yes, Sue.
Does the town already have that set aside process in place, or this would be completely new?
No, absolutely not. They don't. That would be completely new. They're trying to. It's not a requirement, but they're encouraging people that are building new multifamily to have affordable housing. And I've also seen lately a push to encourage folks to have public art. They don't get any credit for it. It's an added expense for the developer, but it's something that the town likes to see. So we'll see what happens to see if they kind of formalize that and put it into a town regulation. All righty. Any other questions on that agenda item? Now for the big event. I am going to, as you know, back a few weeks ago, many of us went to town hall and got a nice tour of town hall and some of the public displays that are up. What I wanted to do, let's see. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, you guys see that? You guys all see my screen? Okay, I see that.
Yes.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, and Marilla, I'll also help you out because we might have, I'd asked folks to take a look at the slideshow that I sent over and jot down any questions or observations that they had. And I'm going to write them, as we go through it, I'll share some of mine. And I've kind of lost everybody here. Hold on one sec.
Does everyone have that blue sign about resizing to change the video at the top and taking up space on the picture? I can't seem to get rid of it. Or do you have that, Chuck? Is that part of what you're showing?
No, I don't. I just have my screen that has, that might be part of your Zoom.
Got it. All right. I hit it. I hit something. I was afraid to hit anything. It's gone.
Okay, great. So, great. Okay, so first off, first floor.
It's
Agreed. You got that. I had to zoom in on that photo of that big ugly gray thing, which is the voting for drop-off voting. There's got to be a better placement for that. And but the paper signs, some handwritten on tape to the door. So my initial observation is like Karen said, it's not welcoming. Really, got to get rid of the signage is a problem. I find the signage in most places, I believe, this is just my impression. The signage in the lobby is confusing. Sometimes it's contradictory. It's a little over the top and untimely too. Any other thoughts?
I would go for neon letters, so there could be, seen at night. I would also say main entrance. I would put west entrance under, I would specify whichever entrance this is. So then when people come and are, let's say, directed to an office that is closer to the west entrance, then they will know whichever one it is.
That's really, you read my mind. That's an excellent point. I'm not so sure that the town, one of the questions I have is, does the town want to encourage people to use the south entrance? Because that's another, and well, actually, is that, well, lo and behold, look at that. It's the next slide.
South entrance.
You got south entrance, but then up there it says main entrance, go that way. Do not enter. It's again, it's if I just think it's not clear, the signage. I mean, I think employees go in that way, which is fine. But if you're a visitor to town hall and you go in that door, you're lost. You don't know where you're going.
Well, there is a directory inside the door, but you still don't know what floor you're on. And then that's confusing.
Yeah.
You're actually, I think, on the second floor at that point.
No, you're in no man's land, Karen. You're between the second.
Well, that's true. You're between, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And the directory, once you get in, is some of the things are yanked off it because offices have moved. There's some paper, some are it looks unprofessional. It's a beautiful building.
If I'm not mistaken, on right at the entrance. So as you go past the entrance on the right-hand side, there is a cork board with announcements. So there's not even, I personally didn't see anything leading people to offices with 100, take a left, offices with 200, take
Yeah.
a right, you know, so there's no guidance right at the entrance. You have to go to the main lobby to get that information.
Yep.
Chuck, I just echoing what everyone else is saying. I mean, I look at that, you know, a lot of spots in town hall, including the main entrance, or even this image we're looking at now. I can't remember what that white board thing is leaning against the light, but I just think clutter.
Yeah.
There's no continuity. It's stressful, and it's, you know, aesthetically really unpleasing. So anyway, nailing that.
The slides, it looks like some of the halls are used for storage also. You've got desks, you've got tables. But let's continue on our merry trip here throughout the town. So what I did on this is obviously it's a overhead shot of town hall. The red corridors are the halls in the middle of the building, and I've aptly named them corresponding to their direction. So when you see all those corridors tend to look alike, but just to kind of give an idea of where we're at each time. So basically the first floor is that's the entry lobby. The second floor has various town departments, economic development, engineering, building, you know, a lot of the things that get a lot of traffic with all the people adding on to their homes and doing renovations. Third floor is town government. And then the fourth floor is the Board of Education. Just to keep those in mind. So here's this very unwelcoming lobby.
You know the point of the tables? They've been there. I actually went in today to just take a gander because I wasn't at the other meeting. And the tables are still there. They've been there for a long time. What's the point of them?
I think they were doing testing there, or they were doing something. Or that's where people, it's something COVID related. So I'll give them a bit of a pass at that.
All right.
But they don't, I mean, I don't know. It just, maybe I'm getting a little too snooty here. But if you're going to have tables out, you know, maybe a table or, you know, chairs that actually, you know, exactly. I love it.
I will say on a positive note, when you come in and you see that lobby, I mean, it has a lot of potential, like with that blondish wood. It's very Scandinavian looking. I mean, it could be a really cool space.
Oh, absolutely.
There's potential, you know.
I'm trying to think. In the past, I mean, that's been like registration for the mayor's ball. It looked nice. But I think it could be, I mean, it's a great reception area. You could have really cool events there. Wonder what the acoustics, you know, because it's opened up a couple of floors. Just looking a little closer, those two stationary columns, announcement boards. I'm going to go to the next slide here. I mean, you can see examples of it in that one, you know, because I think people would probably be lost all day. I'm being facetious. But here's where
church pews or whatever there are pretty uninviting.
They don't look comfortable.
no.
Also taking up a lot of space that they probably don't need to, you know, I don't know. Do
Yeah.
people really come in and sit there?
Oh.
I mean, obviously offer something for them, but
Those used to be the chairs where people would sit in the town council and board of ed room.
oh, okay.
But then when
I
they
wondered that. Yeah.
when they remodeled it during Blueback during 05,
They stuck them down.
yeah, they took them out, and I think they just again, it's kind of like our house during, you know, my wife likes to bring home things that she finds in tag sales, and not that we have a place for it, but they just end up somewhere. And after a while, your house looks like you should be on Hoarders. So this this is a case of hoarding, I think, with these chairs. They're lovely and they're historic, and I'm sure there could be a repurpose, but you'll see they pop back up again. Here's some other things and I some of these it's always easy to be a critic, but I think that there's some things I find. This used to be a high school. It's named after the first superintendent of schools for West Hartford, William Hall. Nice picture of him there. There's a nice commemoration at plaque. Commemorates those students from Hall who, you've got some other things down below that photo, a memorial to 9/11. In other places, you have a list of all the student speakers who have spoken at MLK Day. There is a proclamation of some sorts or a plaque given by St. Peter Claver. Oh, the 9/11 was given by St. Peter Claver. But there's some other things that may or may not still be timely. The diamond that is there, I believe that was a gift to the town, and that's been up for a while. But again, I'm not quite sure what the relevance. I don't see any explanation of it.
I saw that one today, and it actually is quite interesting to look at. I went over to really look at it, but there's nothing that says created by, an explanation of why it's there or what it represents. It's just sort of there, like nothing wrong with nice pieces of art. It'd just be nice if there was a something that was official and said something about the art, whether it's maybe it's a West Hartford artist, or maybe it was donated by somebody or to represent something.
Right. Murals got her hand up.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, Mrs. LeBron said that there are many of these pieces that they have no clue where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I
think one of our charges is to come up with a policy, and that's got to include the criteria. Because again, not to go back to my hoarding example, town hall can't just take everything that people want to donate to get out of their attic. Or, I know when my folk, when we cleaned out my folks' house, there were some things that I could see people say, well, maybe the town might like this. It's got some historical value. It may be so, but we have to have a policy, and we're going to be called on. That's part of the process. Not tonight, but one of the next phases in this process is to come up with a policy. The town is looking for this commission to help them determine what that process is. Probably, at the end of the day, to act as the enforcers and to say, okay, what's appropriate here, what's not appropriate. So just keep that in your mind. A couple other things. This tripod over here on the top left, and the bulletin board leaning up against that lovely quilt. Yeah, that doesn't do much for me. The cabinet that's right outside of the assessor, the tax collector's office. It's just more clutter out in the hall.
That used to
bad. Yeah.
That used to be the main lineup. I don't think it's being used that way. I don't even know what it's being used for.
Yeah. Well, I think in this day and age, now that all these forms are online, there still may be a need for a place to do that and have that accessible. But I don't think that's not a very attractive one. And it's, it's like a third used.
Where there's nothing.
This is this is not meant to be a criticism. The people in town hall do it. Again, everybody's a critic, and I'm being a little harsh, but the folks at town hall do a very good job of keeping town hall safe and clean and well organized. And we're just looking at some ways that we might be able to help. So I apologize for my comments. Okay, we've gone up to the second floor. Second floor, again, town departments, engineering, building, economic development. We see a couple of our friends, the pews, that are the benches. We call them pews, that have cropped up. I think, I mean, this floor actually does a fairly, good job of, some of the displays. It's, most of the functions on this floor are building, and you've got some old photos of historic West Hartford.
Remember, their explanations are putting the back in. They say things like Northington Avenue in the 1920s. Great, but not an old typeset,
Yeah.
or old type, like somebody put it on their IBM Selectric and typed it up and stuck it in.
Yeah. Yeah, the presentation could be a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
What other thought? What else do you guys think about when you look at these? You can see on the picture on the right, you can see where some of the names have fallen off or been taken off on the directory.
Oh yeah.
I again updated signage, that's more reflective of the time period we're in. Not everything has to be electronic, because I know that gets expensive and might not be necessary when you get up to some things, like the ones over the doors don't need to be electronic, but maybe less dated. And the other thing, which I think will become more apparent as we click through these slides, is if you didn't have those labeled, you'd have no idea what floor you're on. So I don't know, probably somebody more creative than myself could come up with a way of indicating, but even if it's like some type of painted stripe or marker that's color and numbered, that that you say, oh, I'm on the first floor, or the second floor, or what have you, just to make it easier for people to know where they are.
Absolutely. And also, the town has that great new logo. If you've driven down Main Street, top of Crate and Barrel, on it, the old Board of Ed building, I think it's beautiful. And I put that logo all over town hall in the signage. I mean, just a thought. What else?
Well, a way to display all these pictures or artwork that's consistent, and it doesn't look different colors, different shapes, somehow, although I realize that artwork might be different sizes, but somehow art piece or
A policy in place and we start getting some interest from local artists or other people in the community that want to contribute some art, we could definitely look at how this space could be used for that. And I definitely was taken with how the top floor is used by the Board of Ed art teachers with that very nice hanging art hanging system. So I wonder if that's something that would go a long way if we had the town similarly put in that art hanging system down on what, either the second and or the third floor.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tried to get a picture of the hanging system. I think there might be one, but it works really well up there. It could be adapted to all the floors. Any other questions or observations, Jenny?
I would just say that, one, again, not to beat a dead horse, but on the left, unless I sort of think about, a lot of what we're talking about is, functionality. And if those benches aren't actually being used, there's a lot of visual clutter if you compare those two hallways. And I just think it's really exciting in terms of the opportunity to support local artists in showing their work. We talked about this when we did the tour of, having rotating galleries at least somewhere in the most public spots. And then I think if you do that as well, then you sort of get out of this bind where you have permanent art everywhere. And I think once it's up and it's permanent, it's much trickier to get rid of it in a way. Again, I know we'd have to have a pretty clear collections policy and all that sort of stuff anyway. But anyway, I think it's really exciting, either supporting students more, local artists,
Yeah.
that
No, this is, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Chuck, is this the floor where the meetings, like the town meetings take place?
No, that's on the go. You get a lot of folks that are doing, building work or going in and out of there.
Right. Right. I was just wondering if it was a spot. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty busy. I was wondering if it was a place where, where lines would form out the door, where it would necessarily, potentially make sense to have, benches out there. But
Yeah.
even, if there's a line forming out the door, people aren't really going to sit because you don't want to lose your place in line. So, I don't know that yeah, would those ever be used, by folks? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're going to have the benches somewhere, it might make sense to have plaques on them, like that they are historical. The original benches that sat in our town council meetings, something like that, to make them be like an artifact rather than just plunked there, if we're going to keep them.
Yeah.
And if I may piggyback on what Javier said regarding those offices that are busier and require a line to be formed, I think having an electronic display where you kind of check in and put your name there, how many people you have in front of you, I think that would also be something that could help with the moving things along and be very helpful for the people working in the town hall.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and also if that was the case, then maybe the benches would be needed because people wouldn't need to form a line.
Right.
Or maybe not necessarily those benches, but they would be able to sit because you would be on a number type system versus having to just wait your turn.
Yeah. The other thing that I was thinking is that if we also have to think about what's appropriate for display on each hall. And since this is one of the busier areas of town hall, I don't know the answer to this question, but is it appropriate? Is that a place where we want to have, art shows? Would we want that to be on other floors, on the first floor or the third? I don't know. I'm way out of my lane in terms of what's the best spot. But I think, that's one of the questions I had. And again, I don't know the answer, is that should different floors have different types of, whether it's public art or historical, artifacts or whatever that we have, photos of old superintendents, that kind of thing. I'm just trying to think, where's the most appropriate place for public art?
Mm-hmm.
Something to chew on. And again, I don't know, and I rely on those. I know Ginny's had a lot of experience in curating collections. So,
right.
Okay, let me go on to the next one. This second floor. Oh boy, it's like Get Smart here, the long cord. Nobody gets that. So this is the, okay, North Corridor looking west. Again, not much going on here. And again, this is below, we're below the auditorium. We're on the same floor we were on the last slide, the second slide. If you guys can see my cursor, that American flag that was at the end of that one hall is right up here. You can just barely see it. Oops, I just moved. And this is this is the East Corridor that is very
Yeah.
really nice. And you see, there's a couple more of our chairs.
Hey, Chuck, this may be way out, but I'm looking at these blank brick walls. They're kind of dark too. Could we do a mural on any of these walls? I mean, you know, maybe even in just a small portion or small area or something. I mean, we keep talking about murals and
Yeah,
might be a good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Just
I
a
think that's fabulous.
I'm just looking at these big empty walls, which are awesome for art shows too, but it seems like we have a lot of space.
I think that's brilliant.
I think that's. We'll make sure that's in the minutes. No, I think, you know, it's a great canvas. What do others think?
Right. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. You know, it would break up the monotony of it. It would add, you know, something very colorful and, you know, a good use of space. You know, we do have 175-year anniversary coming up in 2029. So, you know, it could be something that's, you know, in combination with that where you need a lot of lead time and coordination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get in those hallways and you're not really sure where you're going, you feel lost. I mean, those are the like the hallways that just lead to, you're not sure where, and then until you get there and you realize, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I would, I love that idea too. And especially because I think, there is so much wall space. It's crazy. I mean, I think, I guess my only reservation, and maybe I'm just a commitment phobe, but is it seems like once murals are up, they're up, would be my guess, right? So I guess just a lot of like really thinking through, not that you would want to control what an artist would put up there. I mean, that really counterintuitive, but just to think that through, you know, I don't know anything about brick and how, I don't know any of that, but that would be my only thought. But I think it's a great idea too.
I'm a sucker for town history and historical, you know, pictures and things like that. So I would think, you know, maybe put, you know, at least as part of it could be, you know, what, you know, West Hartford Center looked like in 1850, you know, and have an artist come in and just do like a depiction of you know, something like that, you know, or you know, another historical part of town that you know, with the horse and carriages and, you know what I mean. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud, but
I think this is a conversation that I've kind of almost dreaded having since the beginning about, you know, what is art, you know, being the not the arbiter, but just having to make those kind of calls.
Right.
But I think what for now, I think we should, you know, definitely murals is cool. And you know, we got to figure out how we would, you know, how we choose, just like anything else, you know, how we choose. But you know, just we're just in the early stages of discussing this. But it's because I was almost going in another direction, Hav. Having grown up in this town, West Hartford is so much better today than it was in the past.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it was great then for, the 60s and 70s. It's a great town. It has always been great, but it keeps getting better. And, I'm a history nerd. I love my history. I can walk you around any neighborhood around West Hartford and tell you useless trivia. But I think I'd like to see, our strength, our diversity and that sort of stuff come through in this, in something like that. But that's, again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves in terms of trying to pick themes for something that we don't even know is going to happen. But
Right.
Murals is cool as far as, and I think everybody kind of agrees with that.
Yes.
Cool.
I think, David, if you could let us know, I see some messages coming through. They're very small and I couldn't read them very well, but if David could let us know at an appropriate time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for the public comment. And I apologize, this is going a little bit longer. Are you guys cool for another 20 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me go through, because a lot of this is, we're saying the same things. That's the second floor again, the register of voters, we saw the side angle. Now we go up to the third floor. Third floor, that's again, that east quarter, that's extra long. There, great walls. But again, you can see some storage out there. There's a coat rack. This is the corridor in front of the town council, town clerk's office, where you see more of those chairs.
There's an exhibition there. Oh,
They're copies of documents that I think were donated by Rotary.
oh,
But it's very interesting material. But those would be that we want to keep, and if so, is that the right place for it? Chairs and tables out here. But thinking of the third floor, and again, these floors make no sense and how they're numbered. But I mean, they do make sense because 4 is on top of 3, which is on top of 2, which is on top of 1. But you wouldn't think you were on the third floor because you're on the first floor of the auditorium.
yeah.
What about displaying things in the auditorium itself? You've got bigger walls. I mean, do people think that's something that might be appropriate? Let me
I
go
would
back to the council's office. Let me just here's the auditorium. See if you can see you guys see my cursor dancing around that hallway, that north hallway. You've got some pretty good size walls here, display walls, and also again up top.
For me, in terms of all the spaces that have blank walls, this space would be the least of my worries because I actually think like the gray paint's pretty. The only time I imagine a lot of people are in here is when there are a lot of people milling around or for big meetings where there's already a ton going on. So me personally, I feel like, this, if I were to look at all those spaces, I would think this would be lower priority, but that's just me.
Okay, that's cool.
I would agree with that too. The other places are more transitional spaces where this is like a location that you're going to for an event.
Yeah.
And when you're done with that event, you leave. You don't kind of, at least I don't believe that it's meant to just people to walk in and, when it's going on and walk around and tour it. Like the hallways are, so transient. So I would say I would agree with that.
And not only that, but if the event that people will come at the town hall for, it's not in sync with what is on display, it's also, I
Does that make sense? Unless
I would agree with that.
Okay,
I do too.
Yes.
great, excellent. Let me go back up to. Okay, we did this, did that. Okay, town council art. There's these. Those of us who are on the tour, if you look at some of the dates on these art from kids, these kids are like having their second and third kids now. I mean, they go back to 2000. I exaggerate, but one of the things to ask yourself is, with all this great other public wall space, is this really the right place for art, for kids' art, or for an art show? Or is it better in the halls? Is this a better place for, something, more historic? You've got the photos here. Like you were talking about, these are some great aerial photos of what West Hartford looked like, at different points of the last 150 years.
So move the other ones from wherever hall that was in to here, like make it cohesive. The history of the town makes sense to be in this space where town business, legal town stuff transpires, where there's.
That's a thought. Again, Karen, we don't want to make any change. We're not
Right.
making any changes tonight, but
Right.
that's a good observation.
To make it more cohesive. Yeah.
I would love to see. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I just wanted to say, from a distance, it looks helter-skelter too, like the way the pieces are hung. The idea of that orderly system that's in the hallway on the 4th floor is wonderful. But anyway, go ahead, Javier.
Right. I was just going to say, I would love for there to be because it doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it does happen throughout the whole building, but in that particular room, like I would love to see those aerial pictures in a more in a busier space that people traverse, more often. When I'm in town hall, I look for those historic things because I love that stuff, and seeing how much things have changed. It'd be awesome too if there was almost like a destination or a hallway that was dedicated to, hey, this is the history of West Hartford, and just along both sides, you can just, spend as much time as you want looking at all of the artifacts, or just, the different pictures. I think that would be something super cool if we kind of, concentrated it in one spot.
That sounds great. I agree with you. I like to see that stuff too. So putting it in one, instead of spreading it everywhere, putting it in one spot would be great.
Right. And you can be sure that you saw it all,
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Chuck, too, I think if we're at some point, if we're working towards creating like a policy on some of these types of things,
Yep.
that we'd probably want to consider, that there's going to be some permanent installation items.
Yep.
Some kind of semi-permanent that might stay for quite some time, and then rotating where there might be, things that are set up at a particular time of year, like celebrating, Juneteenth or Pride, or, different things where there might be a temporary display of artwork for a period of time and then, be moved.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, what's this? Town hall. Oh, the Board of Ed. This is the Board of Ed floor, which I think is the coolest floor of them all. But again, a little cluttered, benches.
Looks very similar to the other floors.
Yeah.
Right.
There you got photos of all the superintendents. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the alternative to a bench, that arrangement of chairs there. That's what they use in. There are some of those rooms are used for meetings that people attend and have to wait outside before they come in.
Yep.
So it makes sense to have, for those rooms. I don't know what looks better. This is that
Yeah.
arrangement. Here it is. You do have it.
See those clips up there.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just,
what
I think
Sue was
that's
talking
really-
about. It had a nice clean feel to it when you saw all the pictures displayed that way.
Yeah. And then this is also on the 4th floor, the auditorium balcony. But again, we're gonna get those out for now. Stop sharing my screen. Okay, so where do we go from here? How about Marilla? You and I, we can kind of. I'll work with you and putting together the list of questions people had and observations. If it's all right with you, Ginny has volunteered to kind of take the lead in helping to formulate a plan going forward, and I think she'd do an excellent job again because she's has some experience curating her own work. But something that we're all going to participate in and we're all going to do publicly during these meetings. So I just want to make sure that everyone was fine with that. And I appreciate Ginny for taking this on, and you'll have plenty of help as well. We'll talk more about what we want to do, but I think that the next step is for people to see, for us to get down on paper that we can share in the minutes, let the public see also, some of the things, observations that we made, but then trying to specifically hone in on uses, locations, recommendations, criteria. I mean, there's a lot more. This was the easy part, going to see what looks like now. The hard part is going to be kind of coming up with recommendations. Once we have those recommendations, the next step after that would be going to meet with the town and presenting them probably at one of the town council's committees, community planning or human services, something like that. So we're very early on in the process, and I want to reaffirm to anyone in the public that's watching this tonight that we're just having a discussion right now. We were asked by the town clerk to make some recommendations regarding public art and signage in town hall. I probably should have let off with that, but we've been asked to make some recommendations, and there's nothing official, nothing's going to change anytime soon. This is just the very beginning of the process. So if it's all right with all of you, I'm going to skip over our community updates unless anybody has anything burning. Karen, you see, I put the website for booths at Celebrate, and I just want to make sure that the collaborative reaches out to Juneteenth and Pride to join the collaborative. That was really the only thing I had, unless anybody else has anything they want to share. Okay. David, do we have members of the public that want to give some input?
Hi, we do not.
What a buildup.
So those little email or whatever text messages that were coming across the screen were not the public?
I think, Chuck, when you're sharing your screen, some of your text messages were popping up.
Oh, cool.
Okay. You can read them.
Or Chuck, they were yours.
Oh, they were mine. That's great.
Mary wants a milkshake, I think.
She wants a black. Yeah, can she give me a black? That's great. You can see those? Damn.
They popped up and went away really quick. I just
We couldn't read them. Couldn't read them.
You couldn't read them. I did catch that was Mary though.
She wants a black milkshake. That's great. Little AC Peterson's. Okay. Jav, you were on mute. I couldn't hear you a second ago.
No, I was just saying if you go to AC Peterson's, you can grab me something, drop it off.
I'll take orders, yeah.
Just
That's
kidding.
great.
We are neighbors, Okay.
Absolutely. Ginny, anything? Carol?
No, all set.
No, sounds good.
Okay. Well, here I thought we were being stalked by the public and they were just hanging on every we were doing, but no, it's just us. Okay. So why don't, does anybody have, first of all, before we close out, does anybody have any new business they want to talk about or bring up?
No?
Okay. Any other, we kind of rushed to the end there, but I think we all got the feeling. Anybody have any final thoughts on, what we talked about tonight about town hall or?
I think it's exciting to be a part of some potential change in that building. I think I heard a lot of awesome ideas that could make the building, just give it a much needed lift. So yeah, I'm excited to see what transpires and what role we can play in helping make it look good.
Any other thoughts?
If the town's reluctant to do anything, I think you only need 2 words: Soviet era.
So, I don't know. I like the solo cup. I thought that was
Yeah,
the only thing missing. Yeah, it does. It does. And
Well,
this-
Ginny put it in a very, very nice way. I appreciate that a lot. The Scandinavian look.
Right, he did say that. It's very generous.
all righty. Well, we will look forward to seeing you all at our next meeting. We're going to continue to do all of this, in the public as we're doing right now, as we should do in the meeting, despite not the hordes of people coming. But we'll have instructions with the next agenda of some of the things that we want to come prepared to talk about next time, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Chuck, one last thing. Any idea on if these meetings are going to be in person in the near future, or?
I don't know, but in case I'm asked, what does everybody think about in person?
Yeah, that's fine
Fine
with
for
me.
me.
Yeah,
I
I'm
like
fine with that.
I like being at home, but but I'm okay with in person. I prefer, this is much more convenient, especially at this hour.
Yeah, at this hour.
You're right.
Maybe when it gets, because I loved it. The one time we had our in-person meeting over the summer last year, we left, it was nice out and sunny. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these, maybe doing this in the middle of winter.
Mhm.
But maybe we can talk about, and let me see what the town has plans. I just, you're hearing now about what's going on in Europe with the new strains, so it's just, we'll see what happens. All righty, any other questions, comments, criticisms? Okay, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Jav?
Motion?
Oh, okay, Karen, Jav, you want to make a second?
I will second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
No opposed. 8-0. Great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your patience too tonight.
Thanks,
Good
Chuck.
night. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Take
Good
care.
night.